Hello,
It's Jacob
it's Mickey.
coming at you from the Poe House. And it's Movie Monday, or it will be tomorrow. But anyway, so our movie comes from this.
Another one from this huge box set. There's 50 movies in here.
Right. These are probably lesser known movies mostly.
Mostly.
So this one is The Ape. Oh, I didn't see how many minutes or anything it was. What's it rated?
None of these have ratings, I don't think. Yeah, not rated.
How long is it?
I don't know. Give me a second.
Forgot to look it up. Well, it came out in 1940. And it is.
Oh, it doesn't give me the times in here. Just the synopsis.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Darn. Well, I mean, 1940, they didn't make very long movies. But anyway.
It's probably only about an hour and a half.
I'll look it up on Google after we film this. So anyway, it came out in 1940. It was produced by William T. Lackey and directed by William Nye. It stars Boris Karloff, yes, Frankenstein, Maris Rixson, Wrixon, and Jean O'Donnell. Synopsis.
Dr. Adrian, played by Boris Karloff, is a researcher looking for a cure to polio that would benefit his young friend Francis Clifford, who suffers from the disease.
Polio?
That's what it says here.
Huh. Okay.
His research centers upon the use of spinal fluid in a serum that could return mobility to sufferers of polio. The escape of a circus ape and the injury of its trainer provide an opportunity to test his procedure on Francis, and it provides positive but limited results. Hoping to prove his research and cure his friend, Dr. Adrian sets out to use the ape as a means to provide the necessary spinal fluid for completing his research.
Okay. That's interesting because it was all about people that were paralyzed, and I guess you can be paralyzed from polio, but they never once mentioned polio.
No.
At least not that I caught. So anyway, let's talk about what we liked. So I like that you really had to pay attention because, back in the 40s there wasn't like a lot of action like we have today. So it was mostly dialogue, and so you had to pay attention to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
You like anything?
I thought you were going to keep going.
Well, I mean, I can, but this is supposed to be a conversation.
No, I mean, I do like movies that you do have to pay attention to. I think we're spoon-fed everything with modern movies, which can be frustrating, especially for the those audience members who are like, truly intelligent. What? We got a huge soda. It's Sunday. We always get huge sodas.
I thought the storyline was okay too. Obviously, if it was made today, they would have made it more intricate.
Right. I thought it was kind of weird.
For the 40s, I thought it was pretty okay. And then the characters too, I thought were pretty interesting. It was a really good, diverse group of characters, but we can go more into that later.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird, and I've noticed this with a lot of like the older movies too, since we've seen a couple of them already, is that the title, like the main gist, I guess, of the movie is actually not even really the central plot of the movie. Like this one's called The Ape, but the ape actually has very little to do with the movie.
It's just a means to an end.
It's a catalyst, basically. And a lot of these older films I've noticed are like that, so I don't know. Maybe that's just how they did it
Boris
back then.
Karloff, I like watching movies with him, and he was a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you liked about this film?
Nothing really stands out so much. This one's not as, again, it doesn't really stand out so much, so.
Okay.
But I'll save more for that for the. But
so
I didn't
what
like.
we didn't like. There was nothing really that I didn't like because I kept in mind that this was done in probably 1939, 1940. I don't know how long it took to make the film.
I don't think it took near as long as it took today.
No. Because everything was run by the studios, and the studios would be like, okay, you have this amount of time to make this film, and you have to choose these stars because those are the ones that we have on the payroll. Which is how United Artists got started. Just throwing that out there for you guys. Anyway.
Movie history.
So yeah, I kept that in consideration. So there wasn't really anything that I didn't like. I just don't think the film was preserved very well.
Yeah, because there were a lot of like the grain. It was very grainy. A lot of like those spots and whatnot flashed here and there.
And the cuts too, and I don't know if that was the actual cuts or if it was just because it wasn't preserved well.
Right, but there's a lot of times where there'll be a scene, just as an example, somebody's walking and then all of a sudden it jumps to them and they're like 5 feet in front of where they were. So things like that.
Yeah,
And it happened frequently throughout this one.
So it could have just been that it wasn't preserved well.
Right.
But if you can look past that.
Yeah.
The sound wasn't great, but to be fair, they didn't have really good microphones back then.
Yeah.
Because they were just one step ahead of when microphones were first used on sound stages, they had very limited range, so the actors could not move. And I don't know what kind of microphones they had on this set, but I'm guessing that's probably why the sound was really bad, because they didn't have great microphones.
Or history.
I just took a class, so.
That would be why.
Okay.
But yeah, generally there wasn't a whole lot I didn't like. It was slower moving.
Yes. Because again, it's all
right,
dialogue.
Yeah. But I can forgive it because it is an older movie. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, generally there wasn't much that I didn't like. There wasn't much that I did like though. So it's kind of.
Balanced scales.
Yeah.
Okay, the actors and characters. Obviously, I loved Boris Karloff. I think he was fantastic as the serious, no-nonsense doctor, scientist, experimenter, or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, I wish I could have seen more of him though. Like maybe just in a better quality. Because I feel like he was, yes, but I couldn't really tell. You know what I mean?
No, because I thought he did well.
I couldn't quite tell. I feel like if I'd have just seen him a little bit more of him, then I would have been able to tell that he was doing well. But I think just because again the quality was so grainy. I don't know, but I think he probably did do a good job.
And he was probably the standout character in
right.
this film.
I think he's probably the biggest actor from that time, or one of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gene O'Donnell. It was difficult finding even a picture of this guy. So, the sheriff was kind of lame at first. Like you're just like, really? Come on, sheriff. But then he had some redeeming moments later on, so I don't want to spoil that in case anybody wants to watch this film.
So you can find it.
Yeah.
That's the thing with this movie, is like unless you can find this specific pack, you're probably going to have a hard time finding a lot of these movies. Because, I mean, there's like Nosferatu and House on Haunted Hill.
I mean, there are some that you've probably heard of.
But generally it's mostly...
I think the Phantom's on there too, isn't it?
Yeah, the Phantom of the Opera's on here. Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Night of the Living Dead. But beyond that, most of these other ones are Little Shop of Horrors. But most of them are things that you've never heard of, so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we'll introduce you to them.
Yeah.
Going through it alphabetically, of course. Was that one guy the mayor? Who was he? The one that was all hoity-toity and...
I have no idea. See, that's another thing. I'm like, I wasn't sure who a lot of these characters were.
Like, I mean, he was the only one, really. Like, I kind of figured out who the other main characters were. Like, the townspeople didn't matter. They were just townspeople. But that guy, I'm thinking he might have been, like, the mayor or something.
Maybe.
Because I think he had a high position, because he was kind of used to ordering people around sort of type thing, and people doing what he wanted when he wanted. He was an awful person. I hated him. Oh my gosh, I wanted to kick his nose in. Sorry. Should not think that way about anybody, but he was a terrible person.
So I guess he did a good job at his role.
Yeah. And then I thought it was funny, too, that it was all the men that were gossiping and talking about the doctor instead of the women, because it's always the women that got the bad rap for gossiping. It was the men in this movie. Just wanted to point that out. Grampy was really good at gossiping too. Like, he was the one. If you wanted to know what was going on in the neighborhood, you went and talked to my grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall thoughts?
It was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was. And again, considering it was 1940, I thought it was really okay.
Yeah, it was okay. Like, it's nothing great by any means.
Well, by our standards, of course.
Right. Maybe we have lower standards than most people. I don't know. But
no, I'm saying like by our standards. Yeah, by modern standards, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Because and if you're one of those type people who can't see past or take into consideration when the film was made and the equipment they had available at that time.
And just simply the time period and the mentality of everybody back in the day.
then don't watch this movie. But if you just
Or any old movie for that fact.
yeah, but if you like just seeing films and seeing what they were able to do in a different time era when they didn't have state of the art equipment, I mean, maybe they were using state of the art back then. I don't know.
And seeing how far we've progressed since then
Right,
as well.
that makes it very interesting to watch these. Like they showed a circus in this one, and so that was kind of interesting to see how a circus was done back then. Because I've been to circuses within the last 10, 15 years, and it was not like that at all. Like it was pretty cool, So yeah, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. I liked that they had some live animals.
Yeah.
For a little bit. And then, of course, the ape, which is the main thing, is a dude in a suit. You can tell.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. For the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, they had to interact with it, so they couldn't get a real one. And again, like Jacob said, it moved slowly because it did have a lot of dialogue. But the story itself kind of had me rooting for the bad guy.
The doctor?
Yeah. I wasn't going to give that away, but okay.
Sorry.
Because I kind of wanted him to succeed, even though he was killing people. I kind of wanted him to succeed because of what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could talk about it because I don't know if anybody's going to be able to watch it.
No, yeah. So
I mean, the thing said too that he was trying to find a cure.
And it even said that he was dressing up, and that was kind of the twist at the end. Was
Yeah.
that he's the one in the ape suit.
Ape suit, and he, of course. But anyway, so he's killing these people so he can. And I'm not sure. I didn't quite follow how he was getting the serum if he was injecting the dead people.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I was thinking that he was taking something out of their spinal fluid, taking some of the spinal fluid out or something. But this other doctor comes along and said he was injecting them. So I'm not sure how he got the serum if he was injecting. But anyway, so somehow or another he was getting it from the dead body. So then. But because he has a friend who was probably his daughter's age, and she had been paralyzed for 10 years. So he was trying to cure her so she could walk again.
Yeah.
And it was starting to work. Like she could move her foot. Her legs were starting to hurt, and she had never felt anything before. So, you kind of root for him. You kind of like, okay, you're killing people. That's bad, but let's save this girl. Let her walk again. Because he was thinking, too, of other people that would be afflicted with paralysis. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of rooting for him. Sorry, dead people.
Okay.
All right.
We really went all over the place with this one.
Yeah. So I mean, rating.
Um.
Kind of a. I'm kind of between a meh and a small smiley face. I think I'll go with small smiley face because I did kind of like it because again I took into consideration everything. And I thought for the time, it was very.
Yeah, I think
good.
I'll still go with the meh. I'll go with the meh.
Meh.
Because I know there are other movies even on here that I think came out around the same time that are actually better.
Yeah.
So, I'll give it the meh.
Meh. All right. Well, there you have it. If you ever do find it, and if you are just interested in old cinema, generally speaking, the voice just went kaput. I don't know what happened. Anyway, then watch it. But if you can't get past bad quality because of the time, don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't watch it. It's better to have a positive experience than to force yourself into a negative experience, knowing full well that you're just going to hate it. So don't watch it. But again, if you're like us and you're game and you're interested and you're intrigued by what happened all those years ago, then watch it.
Because we love movies, so that might have something to do with it. I don't understand those people like, I love movies, but then they sit there and pick them apart. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's stuff that just doesn't make sense, I get that. But
right, but to sit there and nitpick at every tiny
like
little
for
detail.
something like this, if they're going to say, oh, it was bad editing, it was bad transitions, it was bad this, that, well,
yeah.
It's 1940, what do you want? And I'm sure they didn't have much of a budget for that either. It was probably, the studio probably just had several movies that they just had to make,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it worked back then too, is that they would just, directors or producers or whoever would basically be committed to the studio, whichever one had them, for so many movies per year, so they would just whip out movies. So this probably was one of them. Yeah. Okay.
Like, comment, share, subscribe if
Yes.
you enjoyed it. If you
Yes.
thought we talked too much, tell us.
To be fair,
We're not on tangents.
I'm sleepy because this little guy right here wakes me up way too dang early. Yes.
We do movie reviews on Mondays, obviously. We do video game playthroughs with her on Wednesdays, and then we're supposed to do Friday videos, random videos
We
on Fridays,
forgot this past Friday. To be
Oops.
fair, though, I'm in the midst of like final week of my college classes, so I've
also
been
we just had a
swamped
really long weekend.
and a lot of work with our work. So,
So-
we missed this Friday. Also, please give us ideas. I mean, we come up with ideas, but getting this guy to do some of them is like pulling teeth.
Well, a lot of them just seem rather lame.
Only to him. Like, my daughter and I are going, yeah, that would be a good idea, and he's over here going,
I'm just thinking what people would actually enjoy watching.
they would enjoy watching us being silly. That's the whole point of Fun Friday. Let's be silly. Let's be goofy. Let's be our natural selves. Okay, you can't be because you're boring.
Whatever. My
I
sense
love
of
Jacob.
fun is different from yours.
You have no sense of fun. I don't know what it is. Like, I never see it.
Whatever.
Like, your sense of fun is not doing anything with us.
Also, we have a
So-
Facebook and an Instagram. You can follow us there.
Get on him. Tell him he
No.
needs to have fun with us and record it for you guys.
That's me.
That's Jacob.
Bye.
Toodles.